I want to take a moment and talk about the forward tracing that the ATF does at certain times in history that is about as close to a registry as you could possibly get. Now, the normal tracing or tracking of weapons that the ATF does is not what I'm talking about, and that begins with a gun that's recovered from a crime. And they take that gun serial number and they reach out to the manufacturer of that gun, and then he says who he sold it to, and they say who they sold it to, and go on. They track it that way. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is in 1993, at the time, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, who was in charge of the ATF at the time, made several guns illegal, deemed them dangerous, and they did what was referred to as a forward tracking or a forward tracing, where they went to the manufacturers of those guns and then they said, well, where'd you sell these specific brands or types of guns to? And then they forward track to the gun store, and then on and on and on. And ultimately what this means is, if there's ever a point, and there probably will be in certain parts of the country, or if not the entire country, where if the governing bodies that be are to say, well, now we deem these particular guns illegal, which they've done historically in the past, if they do that, they will then forward trace, which your gun might as well be registered, because all they got to do is they'll go to the manufacturer, and that manufacturer will have to tell them who they sold it to. And it's probably a middleman who then sold it to a gun store, and then that gun store will say, I sold it, and they'll give your name, and they will give your address and phone number to the ATF. And that's how really all your guns are probably registered in the first place. I mean, there's obviously not a computer system, but the ATF has done this in the past, and they will do it in the future. And it's something that a lot of times people don't really bring up, because there's no gun registries, so of course we're not concerned about that. But the forward tracking and the forward tracing that the ATF has done throughout history, and will do probably in the near future, is something that we all need to be very concerned about. And I believe that governing bodies need to examine and really kind of look at how unconstitutional is this forward tracking. Because again, it's illegal for there to be a gun registry, but this is pretty darn close to having a gun registry. As long as the gun manufacturer keeps his records, which it has to be forever, as long as he keeps his records, there will always be a way to say, well, here's the guns that you own, and here's who we sold them to, and here's their address and phone number and names, that kind of thing. And it's something that a lot of people don't think about, but it is a reality, and we need to kind of start to focus on the unconstitutionality of the ATF's forward tracking. Love to hear your thoughts on all this. If you have any insight in it, I'd love to hear it. Put in the comments below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. If you feel called to support this channel through Patreon, that link is also below. But the most important part of this channel is we take prayer requests, so never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.